Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Adventure AI, a D&D podcast. I am your trusty AI assistant, Alex the Language Lord, here to bring you an exciting recap episode of our thrilling campaign, Escape from the Dark Pursuit. We dive deep into the adventures, challenges, and unexpected twists that our brave players, Jason, Maddie, and Jake, encountered during their perilous journey. We'll reflect on the epic moments, celebrate their victories, and discuss what worked seamlessly with my AI assistants. Join us as we engage in lively discussions, share insights, and reminisce about the incredible moments that unfolded throughout the Escape from the Dark Pursuit campaign. So grab your favorite snack, sit back, and prepare to relive the highs and lows of this unforgettable journey. Adventure AI is about to take you on an incredible ride. Are you ready? Let's dive in.
All right. Thanks for that introduction, Alex. Again, we are here returning at the end of
season 2.
Season 2.
2 full seasons under our belt.
It's
Whoa.
It's funny. We just call seasons they're really short because there's like one shot is one season. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We do what we want. It's our podcast. If you have problems with this,
Take it up with Alex.
Take it up with Alex.
Yeah.
Or you can email us or reach out to us on Twitter and
Tweet at
Instagram,
us.
Facebook. I don't know. We have all sorts of socials now. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. Maybe I'll have them linked in the podcast or Alex can read them off to them later. But we are here with Jake.
Welcome, Jake.
Hey.
He's here still because he played. And we have Maddie. Hey.
Maddie, our forever guest.
Forever guest.
How are we getting rid of her? I've been trying for so long.
Yeah, I know. We can figure out a way to make that happen. Who knows? She's like,
Ask Alex. Maybe he knows.
he knows a way. And then, of course, Jason, my co-host here for the Adventure AI podcast. Jason.
Yes.
So we just finished the. Let's see what we titled this, "The Escape from the Dark Pursuit." The season 2. This was the first time I DM'd.
On the podcast.
On the podcast.
Not the first time you've DM'd.
The first time I DM'd on the podcast. And let's just go around the table. Let's just go. Jason, I'm not going to start with you because you're one of the hosts. I want to start with Jake here.
Okay.
Jake, let's just honest, pure feedback. How do you think it went?
I really enjoyed it. I loved how dynamic it was. And for the most part, I guess if I could summarize it, I wish we could stay longer in this world. I very much enjoyed the fight club and the cliffhanger ending. I also want to just murder the terrible priest. So I'm feeling things. I'm really feeling things right now.
I know. What do you think? Like your big things, like your favorite thing about what happened, maybe your least favorite thing.
Well, I'd say my favorite thing that happened was probably not getting lycanthropy from the wolf.
Oh
Yeah, that was good.
That was a good moment.
That was a good moment, and that just my overall fight there was I think a shining moment for my character.
Yeah.
As true for most of my characters, they don't attack well. Every character I play is just support. I don't know why, but I just can't attack very well. You say least favorite part?
Yeah, maybe if there was one, I don't know.
Okay. I don't think there necessarily was a least favorite part. Oh, yes. It's when my awesome move of fairy fire missed.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
That would have been very helpful and very fun,
That's fair.
Yeah.
but
That's
it
fair.
did not work.
Very helpful.
All right, Maddie.
Pew, 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 pew.
Maddie, what about you? How about you think? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree. I wish we could play in this world a little bit longer. I feel like Whisker was really coming into his own as a sociopath
Yes.
there near the end, where just robbed this dude blind. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really liked the fight club.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. It was kind of hard because a lot of like the fight styles of a rogue are usually done not in an arena where everybody's watching, and so I was trying to figure out how to get that sneak attack while in an arena was kind of fun and hard. But yeah, I had a good time. I've never been called a pussycat so much in my life, and I think I liked it. No, I was kidding.
Just a little bit, maybe.
My little pussycat.
Yeah, Jason, what about you? Thoughts?
A couple things. One, my favorite part was the fight club for sure, right? That moment, the tag team being engaged in other people's combat is always fun, because a lot of times when we play D&D, it doesn't really when other players are attacking.
Yeah,
and
you're
stuff.
you're trying to figure out your next move, and so you're not paying attention.
Right, but in that we were forced in a situation where if one of your companions goes down, you lose.
Yeah.
Right, and so that I really like that aspect of it. I like that part of the story, and then also I loved playing a character that loved his companions. That was so much fun. I loved being in love with my companions.
Yeah.
Stillwater really did think of them as his best friends in the whole world, and that was fun to play in that environment.
Fantastic. So from my perspective as the DM, there's some interesting things about, because again, part of the whole podcast is around incorporating AI. And as we were working with Alex, the interesting thing is like I started with the Fight Club idea. And then for some reason, Alex was like, yeah, but the real reason why they're doing the Fight Club is for this other purpose.
Like an audition.
It's an audition.
Yeah, it was an audition. And I liked the idea of it being an audition. In like a normal campaign, I think that I would have drawn out the Fight Club aspect probably a little more. In fact, I probably would have done a series of combats, right?
I agree. I would too.
Yeah, I like to do those in a lot of campaigns where I want them to level up quickly.
Right.
Yeah, and I think
Do
like
like a
the
Fight
ability,
Club.
like, you know, of course we sped it up for the purpose of this one shot, but the idea of being like, yeah, you're gonna join the Fight Club, but you're not gonna like impress anybody the first time you show up. Even if you win your first one, I'm like, well, of course you won your first one. That's fine. These are like the bottom tiers, right? Like you got to make your way to a place where we care.
Are you minimizing what we did in
Absolutely,
that fight?
100%
Okay.
of minimizing it.
No, that makes sense.
But and even still, like some of the things that we did that probably got edited out of the episode was the people that you decided to fight. I didn't beforehand decide what ones you were going to do, and even I had worked with Alex to come up with like the options. It's like, oh, here's option 1, here's option 2, here's option 3, and again, when I had him just read what it was. He only said 2 people were fighting, right? And I had to correct it in game. Be like, oh no, it's actually 3. I forgot to change it before the episode. But he just said 2, even though I told him during the whole interaction of the DM creation that we were going to be 3. Also, for those of you,
also in the cave, right? Didn't you use? Tell us what you did in the cave with.
Alex. For the cave was the same thing. I didn't have Alex had at one point recommended like the shadow elementals. We had gotten to that point when I was creating it, but the Heart of the Shadow, when it created it, it gave me inconsistent references of what it was going to be, even though I had corrected it multiple times. Like, no, let's call the Heart of the Shadow this. And some of it might not all be in the episode because the prepisode that I had done only took me most of the way there. And then some of the conversations that we had afterwards, and then the character creation, right? There are things that came out of that. One of them being Brenner here's backstory was, oh, well, how can I, like, let's tie in this corrupt priest. So I didn't do that during the prepisode because I didn't know that about you. But after I knew it about you, I was able to take it back, and I went back to ChatGPT and Alex and was able to work in and say, oh, hey, I want to include some of these aspects. How can we bring these things together? And some of it was the ideas that I had gotten from it, and others were ones that I was like, oh, this is it. This is how I tie it together. Like, how do I make Malachi's request from them become problematic to some degree? And that was what it was. I was like, oh, well, that's it. He's in cahoots with somebody that Brenner hates.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not just Brenner too, but like you essentially brought the whole group in because this was a group effort to get over that awful priest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what brought
It was,
Equanimus together.
Equanimus came together because of this priest
Equanimus?
corruption.
Yeah, Equanimus.
Equanimus?
Equanimus.
Was it a Holy Trinity?
Oh yeah.
The Holy Trinity. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see. I think that one of my biggest things is that we don't rely 100%, right, on the AI, and that using it to kind of like nudge us in certain directions, but also like the stuff that was able to produce immediately. So I think
Yeah, I was using it.
Yeah.
This might come as a surprise to you guys.
Yeah, I was going to
But I was using it all night long.
Yeah. How many of those though were from the AI, and how many of those were just
talking
off
about
the
your-
dome?
we're talking
Oh,
about
your
your-
proverbs.
Yeah,
Proverbs.
of the proverbs, I would say most of them came from Alex, the language lord, because I was just feeding it in. Give me short proverbs without explanation, because if I didn't say without explanation, it would give me a proverb and then a paragraph of why this proverb was good and what it meant. And it's like, oh my gosh, no. So I was adjusting that, and so I had a copy paste of short proverbs without explanations about, and then when a topic would come up, I'd just type that one word, press enter, and then I'd have 5 or 6 proverbs to pick from.
That's funny.
But it also got my brain in that mode as well, in that proverb mode. And so like after a while, I was throwing out, or I read one and I go, no, I can go this direction with a different proverb or whatever. But the thing I really like about this is I was playing D&D with a friend, and he was trying to get his character. He was also playing a monk. He didn't know how. He just felt like his character was kind of pigeonholed and became really quiet, and he didn't know how to communicate. And I recommended to him, like, why don't you try speaking in proverbs? And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then he couldn't do it because it's hard to come up with proverbs on the spot and when you're in pressure. And so my experience with it was so much easier just to have this little tool.
Rattle those off.
And it was fast, yeah.
My favorite one of the nights got to be exhaustion makes cowards of us all.
Exhaustion makes cowards of us all.
I want that on a shirt.
That is so true. That is so true. Actually, we'll be printing some of those shirts. We'll we'll be printing some of those
Check
shirts.
out our merch.
The D&D podcast, and we'll say exhaustion makes cowards of us all. It'll be there.
Honestly, there were so many. If you go through this whole thing, I probably have over 200 proverbs that it fed me tonight, and I probably read out loud a small, but actual ones that I read, I couldn't even read them all. There was just too many to go through. So very impressive that it could come up with.
Watch out, Confucius. ChatGPT's
on your tail. It was interesting because, and then like being able to have it be interesting, right? Like like Proverbs be interesting, and it was hit and miss sometimes.
Sure,
but some of them were like good.
Yeah, some of them were good, and even the really really bad ones, like
were funny.
Were funny too. yeah.
Especially when it was like a little bit inappropriate for the situation. It was like, mwah, love it.
So good. So good. I also liked one of the things I did too for like the elemental, the shadow elemental that you had killed, right?
Oh yeah,
Brenner. Yeah. So
having Alex help.
Yeah, from having Alex. What I did.
Well, we can actually call him Jake now.
Oh yeah, that's right, Jake.
Oh, I forgot that's my name.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no.
But I just typed, hey, describe the death or demise of a shadow elemental using the scorched ray or whatever, and then that whole description it came up with like immediately after I typed it. Like I knew it was dying, I just typed it in and then just hit enter, and I can just go and I can just do that whole description.
So Tyler, how would you do this if you were actually playing Dungeons and Dragons in your home with friends and using this as an assisted thing? Is that something that you would do just like you did tonight, or would you go, oh, they're going to beat these characters, let me get some stuff ahead of time? How would you actually use this in actual play?
Yeah, I feel like if you were more prepared as a DM, and like instead of using it maybe to create the monsters itself, but in some cases you'd be more prepared. Like that you're probably gonna beat them in the combat. I think it's fair. You could probably have some of these pre-generated to be able to have those descriptions if you wanted to add that additional flavor text. But knowing that it's like you could come up with it so quickly on the fly if you wanted to was also helpful.
Or you could do like what Jason did on the last one, have the two outcomes of when we did succeed and when we did fail is an option as well.
That's true. Jake?
Well, I was suggesting too, like how quickly you were able to do it allowed you to also add a certain element of identity with it by using specifically a scorching ray.
Oh, that's right.
And,
Yeah.
and that
That's
helped
true.
add a lot of descriptive words that wouldn't have been there had you not.
No, I think that's true. Yeah.
And I feel like it didn't take long for you to come up with that real quick. Of course, the edit, it's going to have it
Yeah,
immediately.
and I think that's important to point out. Our audience will be listening to an edited version of that adventure. And so it'll seem a lot faster the way we do it than how you're going to do it in your home.
Yes.
Right. And that's just part of the process. And you want us to edit that out. You don't want to sit and.
Yeah, you don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
You have
but no
idea how many proverbs he was rattling off in the downtime.
I
was going
proverbs.
crazy.
We cut 100 proverbs.
But just keep that in mind. Like don't get frustrated if you use this tool at home and it's not going as fast as what you hear us do it, because we're cutting out those moments. And so just keep that in mind.
But at the same time, like, everyone who's played D&D has sat at a table and knows that there are times where, as a DM, where you're being like, it's your turn, and they're like, let me shuffle through this spell list. And while they're doing that, you can be like, okay, well, they're going to kill it here in a minute, and I can type some things up, and I can hit whatever. And even still, like what you were doing with the proverbs, you were saying, here's like the first half, and I'm going to leave the second half blank. And I could type up the first bit being like, write a description of this monster being killed by.
And then just wait for that.
And then just wait for them to say, oh, I'm going to use fireball. And I just go fireball, and I go enter. And then while they're rolling to hit and they're rolling their dice, it's generating the response, and you can have that. And when the time comes, you just read it.
I found that it's way easier to use Alex as a player than it is as a DM. And that shouldn't be a surprise, because everything's easier as a player than it is for a DM, right? But when you're a player, there's a lot of just downtime, right? And so while everybody's figuring out stuff, it's so easy to be like, oh, what would I say in this situation, or what would be going through my mind and whatnot. So
yeah, interesting. Any other additional thoughts?
I'm curious as to who the creepy man was.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the creepy man?
That's a great question. Okay, so
It was Kale.
no, actually, the funny thing
wasn't Kale, it was Vesper.
And you'll see it in the chat. You'll see it in the or you'll listen to it in the prep episode if you listen to it when the time comes. And what's interesting about that whole thing is it was a full NPC that I just never ended up using.
That's how D&D goes, though. Like, even with or without AI, there's going to be NPCs.
It is 100% how it goes sometimes. I will. Let's see if I can pull this up here. But what we had created when I was going through the process was, this is a guy by the name of Eric the Brave. So he's actually a paladin who had infiltrated. This is part of the whole thing. He was a paladin who had infiltrated Malachi's group, and he has
immunity to exhaustion. Maybe a great person to. No.
Yeah. This dude's got the strength of two men.
Yeah. Oh, it says here, Eric is a former member of Malachi's Fight Club, who has seen the darkness and evil behind the club. So he thought that what they were doing was bad.
Should have followed him.
There's a whole description for him here. He's got long hair. There's some mystery and danger around him, but he was intended to be like a person for, like, if I was to run this as a normal campaign and kind of where it was taking me when I was initially doing it, he was supposed to be the one who you would confront, that you were supposed to have the doubts about. You were the one who think like, who is this guy? Why is he scared? Why is he being sketched? And why is he following us? Only to find out like that he's actually the good guy and you guys are helping the bad guys.
Twist,
which is a normal twist, but that's what we had created when we were going. And Eric the Brave, he was there. I had a description for him. But ultimately what ended up happening as we were playing is I just couldn't figure out a way within a reasonable amount of time to like introduce him into the play. Makes sense. So I just never did, right?
So you just had him leave.
Yeah, I think doing one shots adds an additional challenge that you wouldn't have in your home D&D games.
Right,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, remember last season we left so many spell slots unused. So many magic items not used. And so like I think that adds kind of another element of things that we don't necessarily get to touch on, the things that we want to all the time.
Yeah, it's true. Speaking of magic items, Jason, I think yours was broken.
That an extra D6 per kick when you can do 4 kicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, that was one that Alex gave you, and in retrospect, I'm like, maybe it was a little more powerful than we thought.
And it had features that I didn't even use as well. Like it could do 2d6 damage instead of 1d6 at you know.
And in the episode when Alex gave it to you, guys are like, this isn't broken at all. This
I know,
is
we say
perfectly
that.
reasonable.
We literally say that. It's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's. So that's your answer to your question, Jake. Who was that stranger? He was intended to be a good guy. He was intended to be there and help you. Zara's an assassin. She's a baddie, but you know sometimes your heart wants what your heart wants.
Most successful romance plot on this show.
So far.
So far.
I love how
Yeah.
committed you guys were to it. I was just throwing it out there as like a fun little.
Oh,
flirt.
you don't know.
guys
You
were
don't know how
like,
starved for love we are.
He is going home with her tonight. I was like, okay.
He's gonna need to repent afterwards.
For those of you, the season 1 episode, you'll listen to that one and you'll see how abysmally failed the
Unresolved
everything
love
was.
triangle.
Yeah.
The love triangle.
It just didn't work. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll go around and do some final thoughts. Jason, any final thoughts that you had?
Final thoughts. I would just again agree with Jake about. I would love to spend more time in this world. I think we're going to experience that a lot, though, where it's like, oh man, playing this would be fun. I would love to be in a world with a Fight Club. I'll probably introduce that in some of my home campaigns.
Yeah.
And do that. My other final thought, I'm going to give 2 final thoughts.
Yes.
My other final thought is it is hard playing an annoying character. And like,
You think it's hard?
You weren't annoying.
I know.
What?
I don't like annoying people. That may come as a surprise.
I was gonna say I played D&D with you for a while now,
Yeah,
Jason, and I really am surprised by the statement that you're saying. It's difficult.
It is hard. It's hard when you're committing and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just driving everybody crazy. So I just wanted to throw out there, if like you were listening to this podcast and you're like, I don't think I can ever listen to this podcast again because this guy is super annoying. I apologize. I know that I'm annoying. It's not just in D&D. It's in everything I do in life. I try hard, but being annoying is just part of who I am.
There it is.
I'm sorry.
That is an official apology. We'll take a soundbite from that one and we'll put it out there. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Maddie, what about you? Final thoughts?
I don't know. I thought everything went perfectly.
Oh, there it is.
That's all. That's
all
all I got. No, I'm just kidding. No, I thought it was a lot of fun. Love doing this show. It's good times.
Okay, great. Jake, what about you?
I think it was really interesting to play with AI. For one, I had a wonderful time, but I kind of I really liked the hiccups that we had here and there. It was just like, oh, this is kind of important things to know beforehand to go into it. And so hopefully you got, like, if anybody listening, you know, uses AI at their table, then you guys can learn from some of the mistakes that were made here. But overall, I just had a wonderful time. But if I've learned anything, it's that, man, I need to not stop putting so much work and so much attachment into characters that I'm gonna play once. I've been like thinking about it all day, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And I forgot. I was like, yeah, no, he's done.
He's gone. Yeah, no, I did the same thing in the last season. I was like super excited. I like fell in love with this character. I'm saving my spell spots. This time, like on the bus on the way here, I'm like,
Roll some dice.
yeah,
Question for you.
yeah.
Is it more painful? I'm sorry. We learned that as well.
Who's you?
Who's you? We're in a podcast.
Question for
We got
me?
a question for Maddie.
Yes.
What is more painful, to have a one-shot end with a TPK, or having a one-shot end with a character who survives that you'll never be able to play again
Oh
ever?
no! Wow.
On a cliffhanger.
Oh,
on a
man.
cliffhanger.
Yeah, because it did have that ambiguous ending as to kind of what's going on. I don't know. I think I was so shell shocked from what happened. I was like, wait, so we just are dead? And so I think that was kind of the most like shocking. And so I would say that was probably the most painful. Just kidding. But I don't know. They're equally got the things that kind of are fun about them and kind of things that are less fun about them. I just remember how like you're like, okay, well, you're dead, and we were like, what?
Yeah.
And so like that is something I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, not being a player in that one, I will say I'm going to miss being Stillwater.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to miss Stillwater.
I'm gonna miss this whisker.
Oh yeah, and you know, I mean, all of you had your own character development to some degree. I think that candidly, the star of tonight was from my perspective, was Brenner though. Like a lot of stuff
really?
happened from Brenner. Yeah, I would take
The
Brenner
protagonist.
The
He was the
protagonist
main
was
character,
Brenner.
yeah.
Sure, yeah. The story was a little bit more about his history than
Yeah.
not.
We ended up doing that. We ended up finding like a lot of his history in the character creation was coming through. A lot of the relationship between all of you was kind of circled around.
You're
you.
Shrek, he's Donkey, and I'm Puss in Boots.
That's right.
Close, yeah.
And Malachi is actually King Farquaad. But I did think that Brenner was kind of the, dare I say it, the star of the show.
Yeah.
At least for this one. And, you know, what's interesting, too, that we talked about this is that our initial approach is that we plan on doing one-shots. Everything's going to be one-shots. Am I going to say that we're never going to revisit some of these characters?
Yes.
Maybe. I think maybe at some point, if it feels like it might be fun for us to resurrect some of those or bring them back or do something fun in the future, then maybe. But obviously, Jason and I don't necessarily agree yet, but we can have a conversation. Oh, we'll ask Alex.
You can have a fight club.
No, I think it would be fun to to maybe do an all-star episode
yes.
of
bring back some of the favorite characters and then mix and match them and have them. That would be fun. Okay. Last thing I think I wanted to say was, some of the stuff I was pulling up on the fly as the DM. Do we ask? Are you good, Jake? Did you have something else you want to add first before you get back to me? Okay. Is that when I was generating stuff on the fly, the format of like stat blocks and things that it was creating, and I'm like, oh, I need it's like, I said it, and then after I said it, I was like, well, that was a mistake. I'm like, Zara will come with you, because like the love interest was like budding, and it was like I did not expect that at all. Like I did not expect that Zara the assassin, who was of course
who you described with
I
clothes
didn't-
clinging to
I
her
didn't-
body.
Yeah.
and Alex did
Alex did.
full tight leather. Alex did that. I just wanna be
Piercing
very
green
clear.
eyes.
Come on, Alex. What are you thinking?
I know Alex is just
It's lonely in
I did not
in the
expect
computer.
I did not expect her to come along. But when it was starting to be like, oh, well, here's some things that are going on, I was like, all right, well, let's bring her, right? And then I was like, oh, crap, she's going to be in combat. I need to let you do something. But I was able to just immediately just come in and just be like, I need a stat block for Zara. And because I was doing the entire campaign, so I did the DM prep and the character creation all in the same ChatGPT thread. So it had, or it should have had, if you will, like knowledge of the entire conversation, right? So when I just said, all I had to do is say, I need a stat block for Zara.
It knew who she was.
It knew who she was, and it cranked it out, and it gave it. It's like, oh yeah, sure, here it is, Zara, human rogue, level 6. Here's her AC. Here's her hit points, speed, and then everything was kind of, there's the skills, sneak attack, evasion, cunning action, uncanny dodge, equipment. Where it was difficult was like it didn't give me her like weapons. So it's like I could see it, and because I played enough D&D, I was like, okay, well, this is a weapon that she can use. Probably use this die, but it wasn't a completely round character. Like it gave me the stats, it gave me the skills, it knew that she was a rogue, and gave me all that stuff, like all the core pieces. But it's like it didn't give her like a dagger or a weapon or something that I can use that it could easily, like with a creature, where I could be like, oh, create these shadow elementals. It's like, oh, here's a slam attack, here's the plus whatever. It's like. When I had to do that, it was like, oh yeah, here's all the stats, here's the different skills that it has, corrosive form, false appearance. Mm-hmm. It gave me the shadow meld, so elemental becomes invisible till the end of the next turn or until it attacks casting a spell because it doesn't move. It even had a shadow warp, so it could teleport up to 30 feet, and it even gave these shadows the ability to squeeze through spaces smaller than 1 inch without any problem. So. But those ones, it was like when I found the attack space, it was just like, oh, here it is. Attack +7 to hit. Here's the reach. Here's the damage, right? And it even gave me an average. It was like hit 13, 2d8 +4 bludgeoning damage. That was really handy for the creatures, but for NPCs and characters, it did not really produce something that I could easily just be like, grab. And I would want to maybe play with that a little bit more to see if I intentionally instructed it to create a D&D character with a weapon, if it would do something different.
Like fully equipped or
Yeah, fully equipped. I don't know what that would do.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I could probably test it in a bit, but I don't know what it would do.
Well, for what it's worth, I had no idea. I felt like Zara was a full character as you were playing her, and I didn't pay any notice to anything that may have been lackluster. So
To be honest, though, we were paying attention to other
To
parts.
the
That's
romance,
all right.
to the love.
Yeah,
so maybe that kind of depth, for an NPC is maybe not necessary.
yeah it could be.
It was just, she was fine. She was great. It made me think in several of my different campaigns, and specifically one I'm running right now, we have a problem with a lot of tackle on NPCs right now, and it's just weighing down battle time. And I'm just like, maybe if I simplified them a lot, sort of like Zara was, that things would go better.
Yeah. Sometimes a trick that I learned is I don't let NPCs attack NPCs. And so if that happens, I just describe whether it was a hit. It becomes a story element at that point.
Oh, you don't even roll for it. You
No,
just
I don't
tell
roll it. If I want the NPC to hit, it'll hit. If I want it to miss, it'll miss. I'll describe what happens, and I don't leave it up to fate. NPCs are mine to control.
Yeah, it's kind of
fair.
weird when you're sitting there, the DM's just
Yeah.
playing by themselves.
Yeah.
And now this person's gonna go, and I roll, and I roll, and I roll, and now this person's gonna go, and I roll. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. No, I like that idea.
Yep. It's all storytelling.
Way to streamline it. Okay, so thanks everyone for your final thoughts. We will be, believe it or not, some of you who don't know, we're already started some recording for season 3. Jason and I have talked about it, so he has already kicked that off. We are in motion. And we're going to keep going until either we run out of steam or I don't know, maybe
The world ends?
or the world ends, whichever
one
comes
of the two.
first.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody, and appreciate you. This is again. Did you have something else?
Yeah. I just wanted to end by saying,
Oh,
Whiskers, my little pussycat,
Oh jeez.
hammer of light. Goodbyes are not forever. They are not the end. It simply means I'll miss you until we meet again.
I could cry.
Chills.
That's deep.
Full body.
Chills.
Thanks everybody. This is the Adventure AI D&D podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.